Hi, I'm Vicky Chowney.
And I'm Ben Smith.
And you join us here on the Really Mobile project at Reuters.
That's right, we've come to a proper grown-up news organisation to talk to Niall Murphy, founder of The Cloud, which now has a Wi-Fi hotspot network in 13 countries around the world.
So, Niall, The Cloud, can you tell us a little bit more about that and how it came to be?
How it came to be? Well, The Cloud is a public Wi-Fi network. We provide wireless broadband internet access to people with laptops, smartphones and so forth in everything from hotels to airports to coffee shops to train stations. The company was we launched the company in 2003, beginning of 2003, but the idea sort of germinated in 2001. I was living in Amsterdam and I needed internet access across the canal from my apartment, and I had a cable broadband connection, and because I'm an early adopter I had a wireless broadband modem, so I managed to string that up and get myself access in the cafe. And at the time I was reading about massive 3G auctions, and I thought, if I can do this with $1,000 worth of tech from Radio Shack, so to speak, then there's some legs in this. But principally this decade was always going to be about a transition from the fixed internet to the mobile internet environment, and the mobile internet environment is going to require a huge amount of capacity, access capacity, and I thought that the two of us that founded the company thought that was vastly under-provisioned.
How do you answer critics who say that this is a technology being abused, that it doesn't really scale well to serving the public in areas like stations or hotels where you've got lots and lots of consumers simultaneously?
Well, ironically, that's exactly where it is optimal. The problem in radio physics, to be engineer for a moment, is you get to optimize either range, which is the area that a network is covering, or speed. And in cities, or in hotels, or in coffee shops, you've got a high concentration of people. You don't need to give a radio signal over a big range. You need to provide a lot of speed to a lot of people over a very short distance. And so technologies like Wi-Fi, which provide high capacity over short range, are optimal there.
And what would you say to my friend from the mobile network who's building a lot of 3G masts and is telling all of his customers that 3G and the things that come after 3G are the way to go, who says that the Wi-Fi is old technology and will eventually be replaced or just made obsolete by really fast 3G networks?
Well, I think your friend is in the business of providing a mobile internet experience to the end user, not purveying any one particular technology. And the task, if you're a network operator, is to find the most economically efficient way of doing that. So you've got to use a cocktail of these technologies to actually achieve that. There is obviously a bit of religion in the industry about which technology is optimal for what. As I said, I don't think the end user really cares. People are using their devices in their homes, they're using their devices in their office. They want to access their media files on their local server. They're not going to do that through the 3G operator's network, because they don't want to, and neither does the 3G operator want them to do that. So they need to use Wi-Fi to do that. And increasingly we're going to see peer-to-peer connectivity coming into the space. So if we want to share a media file and we're standing near each other, why does that have to go through the macro network? We can push that between us with a wireless network we ad hoc create.
I know that you've written a lot recently about Digital Britain and how that doesn't actually factor in Wi-Fi enough, and it's not realistic. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, I was talking about the capacity demand curve, and a lot of forward planning, strangely, in the mobile market is done on an assumption of a fairly linear growth rate in demand. In fact, the per capita throughput demand, the number of megabytes of traffic that each of us put through the mobile network or in our general digital existence, is growing at an exponential rate. It's growing at about 3 to 5x per person per annum, right?
So just to be clear, we're 4 or 5 times off in our estimates from what's actually happening there.
Yeah. So we will this year. You will probably push through the mobile network 5 times the amount of traffic you did last year, right? Wow. Data traffic, and that's a huge growth rate. That means by 2015. You're moving about 100-fold more data per person through the mobile network than you are today, right? And that's because you're accessing video, and video is becoming more integrated into basically every website, and that's your expectation of the internet, right? So that kind of growth in capacity demand has not really been assumed in the planning that a lot of operators have undertaken and a lot of regulators are undertaking. It's kind of like the climate change problem, right? We forward forecast inaccurately. And what we're going to see is a tremendous demand for capacity, mobile capacity. And I think in terms of Digital Britain, that view of the fact that A, people are going to be accessing the internet wirelessly as a matter of course, and B, that they're going to be doing it at tremendous speed expectations, haven't been properly catered for.
So just picking up on another point from Digital Britain, do you think that there was too much of a focus on fixed internet access over any other type?
Yes, in a word. I think that there's a lot of orientation around the definition of success being fibre into everybody's living room. And that's obviously important to the broadcasting community because they perceive that fibre is the way they're going to be able to respond to Sky's position in the market or Virgin's position in the market, for example. But I think one has to recognise that if over the course of the next few years everybody's starting to access things wirelessly, it's all very well having 50 megabits into the corner of your room, but if you can't get 50 megabits from the corner of your room to the device that you're holding in your hand that you're actually using for internet access, then you've got a little bit of a problem, right? And so, the spectrum perspective kind of doesn't, in my view, address that issue. And when we turn to the challenge of universal service, it doesn't make sense to lay cables everywhere across the country. So 2 megabits as a target, national, fine. That doesn't necessarily mean we have to go out and dig up more ground. We can deliver that solution with wireless technologies.
Isn't 2 megabits laughably small?
If we had 2 megabits into everybody's access environment, uncontended across the UK, that'd be pretty damn good. And if you look across the world, getting to 2 megabits as universal service objective is actually quite a high bar. I think it's fine. I think that I'm going to live to regret these words, but within the current realm of basic level applications, if you like, 2 megabits is a perfectly acceptable goal.
So from a purely personal perspective, I'm just curious what you think of people trying to build commercial networks out of home hotspots. People like FON, for instance. I
think it's great.
Yeah.
I think there's a big construction project going on here, which is building an alternative mobile internet access environment. And the cloud does not have an exclusive franchise on that. There are other models that need to play a role in that. So these kind of approaches are important. What the industry is uncomfortable with is the chaos of this kind of tapestry of networks which is emerging. Sure. It's not something that a top-down engineer is traditionally comfortable with. But that's how the internet got built. It got built together by stitching together a whole bunch of independent little Ethernet networks and so forth and creating a useful infrastructure.